Okay, so let's just dive right into this explainer by completely shattering how you view your everyday life. I mean, we all go through our daily routines practically blind to the fact that we're basically living in a science fiction utopia. Today, we're going to look at the world we just call normal, but we're doing it through a wildly different lens.
Seriously, I want you to imagine pulling a human from, say, 15,000 years ago, right through a time portal. We grab this prehistoric hunter-gatherer and just drop him smack in the middle of a modern supermarket. I mean, for the first few seconds, he probably doesn't even move. He's just staring. Because to him, this entire space is completely incomprehensible. You've got automatic doors just opening by themselves, cold air blasting from invisible machines, and, elevator music coming from out of nowhere. And then he sees the food. Thousands and thousands of pieces of fruit stacked in these massive mountains, entire aisles dedicated just to bread, and refrigerators absolutely packed with meat. To us, hey, it's just a quick grocery run. But to him, it would literally look like heaven. Just think about the sheer contrast in those two realities. On one hand, you have a grueling, everyday life or death struggle just to find a single meal, where you have to search, dig, track wild animals, and honestly, sometimes become the hunted yourself. And on the other hand, well, there's our unbothered, super casual grocery shopping. We just push carts around, scrolling on our phones, getting genuinely annoyed that our favorite brand of cereal happens to be sold out. Our guy is wondering how on earth we defeated hunger, and we're just mildly inconvenienced. And, that same ancient traveler would be just as floored if you walked them over to the frozen food aisle, or even just opened the refrigerator in your kitchen. Show them this quiet humming machine. They would be absolutely stunned by this literal box of artificial winter that we completely trust. No snow, no giant blocks of ice, just a machine quietly defeating the ancient terror of food spoilage 24/7. And because of that machine, we've developed this unbelievably modern privilege. Look, for our ancestors, spoilage meant actual starvation. But today, we've conquered food spoilage so thoroughly that we can cook way too much food, store it perfectly safely for days, open the door, stare at it, and complain, ugh, I don't really feel like eating the same thing again. Like, our biggest issue is being picky about perfectly safe leftovers. It's wild.
But this mind-bending contrast extends way beyond the grocery store. Imagine taking our time traveler to a modern hospital. For practically all of human history, a minor infection was a death sentence, and surgery was this terrifying, fully conscious, frantic ordeal. But today, we've become so advanced that we literally invented pain relief to numb an area before administering the actual pain relief. We put you to sleep, fix the problem, and you just wake up repaired. To a medieval person, that is pure, undeniable wizardry. All right, now let's bring that medieval traveler into a typical modern bathroom. You just turn a shiny handle and instantly, safe, warm water pours out of the wall. No hauling buckets from a well, no building a fire to heat it up. And look at what surrounds this water. It's like an overwhelming luxury spa. Shampoo, conditioner, face wash, and, approximately 17 mysterious bottles nobody even remembers buying. To someone from the Middle Ages, this insane abundance of clean, safe water and hygiene products is a royal miracle that not even the wealthiest ancient kings possessed. And yet, what's our usual reaction? We stand in this warm, miraculous waterfall, casually use it all up, and then just groan, ugh, I hate mornings. So let's step outside for a second. For most humans who have ever walked the earth, transportation literally meant walking. Distance dictated your entire existence. Now look at how we travel. We strap ourselves into these highly comfortable, climate-controlled chairs inside metal boxes that move faster than any ancient animal could ever run. We literally watch trees and buildings blur past us. And sitting inside this incredible feat of human engineering, what do? We angrily smack the steering wheel and complain about traffic.
But wait, because it gets even crazier. Imagine pointing to the sky and telling your ancient passenger that the car they were just riding in, yeah, that was just the slow machine. And then you board a commercial airplane.
In an ancient worldview, the sky was the realm of the gods, totally unreachable. But today, a medieval journey that would have taken months of grueling, perilous travel across land is now knocked out in just a few hours. We literally sit in chairs thousands of feet above the clouds, safely crossing entire oceans. And what are we usually doing up there? We're complaining that the Wi-Fi connection in the sky is buffering.
And speaking of the internet, just try handing an ancient human your smartphone. At first glance, it's just this smooth, dead piece of glass. But then the screen lights up. You initiate a video call. You'd watch them freeze in absolute terror and awe as a face from literally the opposite side of the planet appears and speaks to them instantaneously. Think about it. Humanity spent thousands of years desperately trying to communicate across massive distances using runners, horses, ships. Messages took months, but today we finally achieved the impossible: instantaneous global communication. And what is our primary go-to use for this godlike power? Yep, we use it to send each other funny cat videos. But your phone obviously does more than that. You have the entirety of human history, science, complex mathematics, satellite maps, and lifetimes of ancient scholars' work just sitting in your pocket. An ancient philosopher would literally give their right arm for this. You can access all of it while standing in line for a latte. And somehow, looking directly at this infinite library of human knowledge, we still manage to utter the phrase, "I'm bored." Now, wait until nighttime hits. For almost all of history, darkness had absolute authority. The sun went down, and the world basically stopped. But you bring your visitor inside, reach for the wall, and click. You just summoned a miniature sun. No fire, no smoke, no wildly dangerous oil lamps spilling everywhere. We completely banish the absolute authority of darkness in a fraction of a second just by flicking a piece of plastic. And if you really want to blow a Viking's mind, just show them modern food delivery. You tap a tiny glass screen a couple of times, and 20 minutes later, a stranger arrives at your front door carrying a literal feast. You didn't hunt, you didn't cook, you honestly barely even spoke. You just touched glass and boom, food appeared. And while you're eating that food, you showed them modern entertainment. A Viking would look at your TV or phone and see a magical glowing box trapping this massive army of musicians, actors, and storytellers performing entirely for you. Millions of hours of on-demand entertainment, and yet we sit there, scroll through thousands of options for 20 minutes, and perform this incredibly absurd modern ritual of saying there is literally nothing to watch. And how exactly did we pay for that food and that entertainment? We buy things by just holding our phone near a little plastic machine. It beeps, and bam, transaction done. An ancient merchant's head would spin. Where was the money? He'd ask. We just moved invisible numbers stored in vast computer systems through thin air. It is pure magical confusion for anyone from the past. But as our ancient visitor looks at the automatic supermarkets, the painless hospitals, the flying machines, and these glowing glass rectangles, the biggest shock wouldn't actually be the technology itself. The biggest shock would be us. They would look right at you and ask, why aren't you amazed? Why are you so completely apathetic to your own miracles? The answer to that really comes down to something called hedonic adaptation. Our human brains just adapt. Miracles very quickly become standard appliances. Then, those appliances become our baseline expectations. And soon enough, those exact same expectations become highly annoying inconveniences the very second they stop working. Electricity and the internet feel completely invisible and ordinary right up until the second the power goes out. Before our ancient visitor steps back through that time portal to return to the past, they might truly believe they just visited the realm of the gods. But they didn't. This civilization, these massive flying machines, this artificial winter, this instant global knowledge, it was all built entirely by human hands. And nobody built modern civilization in one single lifetime. Millions of humans contributed these tiny, incomplete pieces over countless generations. They figured out fire, they developed agriculture, they built massive sanitation systems, and eventually they connected the entire planet. We are just effortlessly standing on top of this massive mountain of accumulated knowledge that our ancestors suffered, bled, and died to build. So tonight, when you casually grab cold water from your fridge, or, when you catch yourself complaining about a web page taking a whole 3 seconds to load, just remember this reality check. Your totally mundane reality, your quote-unquote boring everyday routine, would be an impossible, incomprehensible miracle to almost everyone who came before you. Your normal boring Tuesday is somebody else's absolute vision of paradise. Because honestly, the absolute strangest thing about living in the future isn't the incredible technology surrounding us on all sides, it's how remarkably quickly we learn to just stop noticing it. So I'll leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Knowing what you know now, will you ever be able to look at your ordinary life exactly the same way again?